Who needs forwards to score the goals? We've got our defenders can just do it all. Hello everybody and welcome back to OUFC Fan View. It's Ian here once again for another review of another Oxford United game. Today the Yellows were at home again. They were at home to Luton Town. The fine form under Gary Rowett continued with that excellent 1-0 victory over Blackburn. It was another excellent opportunity today for Oxford to get another 3 points on the board. But Luton came to the Kassam and proved they were no pushovers. They led at half-time, but Oxford battled back to get the win. Defenders doing the job. As this one finished, Oxford United 3, Luton Town 2. For a game with 5 goals, you'd expect it to be an absolutely enthralling affair, but really it wasn't. But we'll break it all down and we'll go over the game like I usually do. I'll do the team news, I'll give my review of the game, highlighting the key incidents, and then I'll give my final thoughts for both clubs at the end of the video. If you do just want to jump to the end and see my final thoughts, that's absolutely fine. Just use those timestamps down below. But I'd always encourage you to watch the whole video. Either way, if you can hit that like button, that helps me out a lot. And if you do like the content, consider subscribing. So let's have a look at the team news, starting with Oxford United. And it's just one change that Gary Rowett makes from that side that won 1-0 over Blackburn on Saturday. And it's Ruben Rodriguez who comes out of the side, says he's feeling a little bit of tightness in the hamstrings. So he goes onto the bench. Matty Phillips comes in to replace him. Means Matty Phillips does go into that 10 role and Dembele stays out on the wing. Tyler Goodrum is serving the final game of his 3-match ban. And we actually see Ollie Romani making the matchday squad for the first time. Let's move on to the visitors then. And Matt Bloomfield, yes, Matt Bloomfield, the ex-Wycombe manager, is now in charge of the Hatters, who sit second bottom in the Championship, and that did remain after today's game. And they have only had 1 point from the last 5, now 6, so they are on a terrible run. But that 1 point did come in that last game, Bloomfield's first in charge, where they got a 0-0 draw versus Preston. Luton make 2 changes from that side. Elijah Adebayo comes in up front for Carlton Morris. Zach Nelson comes in for Jacob Brown. Luton still do have quite a few key players missing, including ex-Oxford United Shandon Baptiste. No surprise to see him out with an injury. But good news for Luton is Alfie Doherty, who has arguably been their best player this season, is fit again and fit enough to make the bench. Move on to the game then, and what a strange game this was. It felt largely flat, it felt largely scrappy, and not really much was going on. But the one thing that was going on was goals. We got to 11 minutes, Luton had their first chance and they stuck it away. It was Oxford failing to clear a ball from a free kick. Leigh and Brannigan both had opportunities to do so, but the centre-back for Luton, McGuinness, did really well to keep the ball alive on the edge of the box and actually played a pretty intricate through ball to Krauss. Not sure if he meant it or not, but it worked out really well. Krauss had a touch inside the penalty area and just drilled it past Jamie Cumming to give the Hatters a 1-0 lead. And for the first time since Gary Rowett's taken over, Oxford conceded the first goal in a game. Got to say, Krauss enjoys playing against Oxford United. He scored at Kenilworth Road earlier on in the season, and now he's scored today. But Oxford did respond 11 minutes later. They did do quite well in response to going a goal behind. They slowly got themselves into gear, and they scored when they were on top of the game. But it actually was their first shot on goal as well. It was from a good spell of possession where Oxford just kept the ball alive. I think there was a free kick, and Oxford just kept the pressure on, kept turning the ball over, kept moving it from left to right. Gregg Leigh got the ball on the left, fed Brannigan on the overlap. Brannigan with a lovely sort of drilled cross into the penalty area. And there was Michal Helik, still up from a free kick that happened ages ago. But it was a good job he did stay up because he flicked it home brilliantly. Maybe from a Luton point of view, Kaminski could have done better. He did get a hand on it, but the ball trickled over the line. But Oxford could not gather any momentum after getting it back to 1-1. And then 4 minutes later, 26 minutes, Luton were back in front. Silly free kick given away by Sariki Dembele, and it was Krauss. He's already scored one, now he provides one. It was the provider who scored the goal and the scorer who provided the goal in this instance. I think I got that one right. But Krauss whipped a devilishly good ball right the way beyond the Oxford backline, curling beyond it. Oxford players just couldn't get on it. Luton players queuing up to get their head on the ball. And it was McGuinness the final man who does get his head on the ball, and despite coming clawing it away, the ball had crossed the line. The referee blew the whistle, and Luton, who've been clinical so far with 2 shots, 2 goals, lead 2-1. And not too many chances for either side as we approached half-time. It was quite a scrappy affair. Dembele, who did look quite lively for Oxford, I must say, 32 minutes on the clock. He got onto a loose ball, drove to the edge of the box. It was a decent strike from Dembele, quite a difficult one for Kaminski. It kind of bounced in front of him, but he did well to push it wide and get it away from danger. And on 40 minutes, Luton probably played their nicest move of the first half. Some nice, intricate, quick first-time passes kind of opened up Oxford right the way through the middle, created a space for Adebayo on the edge of the box, but his shot was quite unconvincing, but it still did deflect behind for a corner. But it all came to nothing, and we got to half-time at 2-1 to the visitors. Everything in this game just felt a little bit flat, and it is very strange that we had 3 goals because not much else has really happened. Luton have taken their chances really well, and I was just thinking it'll be interesting to see how Matt Bloomfield approaches the second half and whether he'll try and get a third or whether he'll just sit back and go into game management mode. Their away form has been really poor, and this would be a precious win for them. As for Oxford, well, everything just feels a bit off from what we saw on Saturday. It was a good response to going a goal behind, but then to instantly give Luton another goal straight after it just halted any momentum, and Oxford just couldn't get it back. Work to do for Rowett to try and rouse this Oxford United side for the second half, and hopefully he and Oxford can turn it around. And Oxford did start the second half quite well, but it wasn't like they were banging on the door, creating loads of chances, but they certainly were the side in the ascendancy. Luton did step off and went into game management mode, but not too much. They were just sort of trying to hit Oxford on the counter-attack. The first chance came for Oxford on 50 minutes. Dembele once again picking up the ball in a nice little pocket of space, driving towards the edge of the box, fouled once again on the edge of the box. Like what we saw on Saturday, it was in Brannigan range for him to strike it. He struck it, but this time it hit the wall. But Oxford's probing paid off on the hour mark as they levelled this game up. It was from a corner and Brannigan curled quite a flat ball into about the penalty spot. Ciaron Brown makes a good run, guides it home with a very tidy finish. Again, the Luton defenders will be thinking, how did we just allow him to run and get on the ball, really? You'd be asking a lot of questions of that Luton defence, but who cares from an Oxford United point of view? Ciaron Brown stepping up again with another important goal, and just like Helik, produces a very calm and assured finish. There were changes afoot for both sides. Matt Bloomfield making big changes after that goal went in. 4 changes for his Luton Town side, but Rowett responded by bringing Alex Matos and Tom Bradshaw on to replace Phillips and Harris. I thought Luton looked pretty energised when those changes came in, and they actually looked quite good for the next sort of 5-6 minutes after those changes came in. Doherty came on, made a big difference on that left-hand side, and he whipped in a wicked cross. It was right across the 6-yard line. It was just begging for a Luton player to tap it home, but there was nobody there, and luckily Oxford get away with it, and they made Luton pay just 3 minutes later as they took the lead, and it was another defender with the goal. This time it was from a long throwing by Will Vaulks. It was cleared back out to Vaulks, who got another chance to put a cross in. It was quite a high loopy cross from Will Vaulks. Not a bad cross at all, but it was in the air for a long time, and Gregg Leigh was just stood there on about, I don't know, between the 6-yard box and the penalty area, completely unmarked. You wouldn't believe how unmarked he was. He was in acres of space relative to being in the penalty area, and he just nodded it in. Very strange goal. I don't know why. You would have thought Kaminski could have come for it. You'd have thought a Luton centre-back should have been at least in there, putting pressure on Leigh to try and win that ball. But it was so odd that Leigh had so much time. He didn't need a second invitation. He tucked it away. 3 goals for Oxford. Could turn around and come back complete. 3 defenders with the goal. And we're only a Peter Kioso goal away from completing the back four bingo card. And the game kind of drifted along now. It was Oxford's turn to go into game management mode, and we got into the final 10 minutes as Oxford tried to kill the game even more. Plaheta came off for Hide Teravest, and Luton, whilst they did look threatening at times, Oxford, we've seen this before, defending their box very well. Alex Matos on 83 minutes had a good driving run. He won the ball back and drove into the penalty area just to drop his shoulder to get his shot away, but Luton got the block on the ball. It was good energy shown by Matos, who I thought had been a bit sloppy up to that point after coming on. And there was 6 minutes again of injury time, which I don't know where the referee got the time from. And despite Oxford seemingly giving away a lot of cheap free kicks and a lot of opportunities for Luton to throw the ball into the box, Oxford stood firm. I don't think Jamie Cumming had to make a save. And Oxford get another 3 points. Unbelievable, the run that we're on. Let's move on to the final thoughts, and let's start with the away side in Luton Town. Luton fans, you must be absolutely sick of the season at the moment, and this may be quite indicative of the way the season has gone. From being in a position of strength, 1-0 up, 2-1 up, to throw it away, the way you threw it away, with Oxford not really having to work really hard to get those goals, must be incredibly disappointing for you guys. You looked good going forward from set pieces, but I've got to say you looked really poor from a defensive point of view from set pieces as well. Thought you were very direct at the start of the game. I'm not sure how well that really worked, and I thought that sometimes you played some pretty good football when you kept it on the floor and passed your way through Oxford. I'm surprised you didn't do that a little bit more. And at 2-1 up at half-time, maybe you could have gone for Oxford a little bit more in the second half. I think it's probably most people would have just sat into that game management mode, counter-attacking mode. But I wonder if you could have just, you rue the fact that you didn't maybe go for Oxford a little bit more, because when Bloomfield made those changes on the hour mark, when Oxford got it back to 2-2, I thought it did kind of change the game in Luton's favour, and you were more on the front foot, and you added like an added energy to your side. So maybe Bloomfield could have made those changes earlier, and maybe you could have just pushed Oxford back a little bit more, and maybe you could have got that third goal, which really might have even ended up winning the game for you at that point. But the good news for you guys is Alfie Doherty coming back without a doubt. He added a lot of energy down that left-hand side. He looked a real, even in the short little cameo that he had, he looked a little bit of a level above the other players that we saw up front. And I wonder if it was the right idea to play Adebayo over Morris. I thought largely he was pretty lackluster up front. I don't think he did too much, and I wonder if you'd have better off have started Morris up top, or whether that was just a rest and rotation thing. But this away form that you've got is really terrible, and it needs to change if you are going to pull away from this drop zone. And I just really like to know, do you think you are going to pull away from the drop zone? Are you staring relegation in the face, or do you think that Bloomfield's the man that can get you out of it? And what do you think about the appointment of Bloomfield? He's a guy that's done well at Wycombe, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily would have been a name that's top of your list when Rob Edwards got the sack. But it's a really horrible season for Luton. I do feel for you. I know coming down from the Premier League, you'd have had big expectations to try to mount a promotion campaign this time around. So what's gone wrong? What's happened? Is a lot of it down to injuries to key players, or has it been a lot of poor management of the football club? Let me know down below. Good luck for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll play you again in the Championship next season. That brings me on to Oxford United, and first of all, unbelievable that we got another win on the board. Unbelievable now that we've got 5 wins and 2 draws from the opening 7 games of Gary Rowett's tenure. We picked up just as many points in 7 games under Rowett as we did under Buckingham. It's a remarkable turnaround, which quite frankly beggars belief, really, and it makes you think that surely something is going to go wrong at some point and drag us back down to earth, because we're flying high on cloud 9. And I tell you what, as silly as it sounds, if we can beat Stoke on Saturday, we're going to start looking at the playoffs, aren't we? But the turnaround in this game was very impressive, because I don't think Oxford were good today. I think they had to battle hard to get back into this game. And for the first time, we've seen how Gary Rowett is able to rally his troops when Oxford are behind in a game and trailing at half-time in a game. And I thought we saw a really good response in the second half. Not amazing, not brilliant, nowhere near the level of football that we saw in the Blackburn game or against, let's say, Cardiff or against Plymouth, but did enough to get the great chances, and thankfully we took those chances as well. Because I thought in the first half Oxford were just off it, kind of all over the pitch really, just kind of really like stung by those goals and just couldn't get into their groove. There were silly errors at the back, and thankfully that was much improved in the second half, and we defended our box really well, particularly at the end of the game. The main threats for Oxford were when they got the ball out to Placheta, when they got the ball out to Dembele. Placheta, I thought he was okay. He should have had a penalty in the first half, let's be fair. That really looked like it should have been a penalty, but for some reason, we're never going to get a penalty this season, are we? Or we certainly haven't got one so far. I thought that should have been it, but the referee, who was looking straight at it, deemed it not to be. But Dembele is a little bit hit and miss, isn't he? He's unpredictable, but I thought he did pick up the ball in some dangerous area, drop in the lines really well, and when he does get the ball, he drives at players and puts players on the back foot, and that's a really important thing, and something we were really missing towards the end of the Buckingham's tenure, that is for sure. But between the two of them, they got quite a nice dynamic going. If you've got that raw pace and directness of Placheta, you've got that trickery of Dembele. I think that's a nice little combination we've got going up there. I really wasn't impressed with Phillips or Harris today. And I think that maybe we might need to look to start Bradshaw. I'm sure Rodriguez will come in for the Stoke game, but hopefully I think we should start Bradshaw for that Stoke game as well. I thought Phillips did a couple of decent things. There was one time where he tracked back and made a good tackle in the penalty area, but we really didn't see a lot from him going forward. The movement was decent between the three of them. Phillips, Dembele and Placheta, you did see them picking up the ball in different areas of the pitch and them trying to like work their way into different spaces. You saw Placheta turn up on the left in the first half, Phillips going out to that right a couple of times, but you just didn't really see any impact once again from Matty Phillips. I'm not going to give him too much criticism because everybody else seems to do that. So, but I'd be surprised, especially now we've got Goodrum back, whether Phillips will be in the starting lineup or whether he will just be used as a guy to kind of come on and try and kill the game late on. But the defenders deserve all the praise, don't they? The defensive unit, as I say, they maybe a little bit sloppy in the first half, but these guys all stepped up in that second half, and three of them stuck the ball in the back of the net, so you can't really complain about that. Helik and Brown with lovely finishes. Leigh with the most open goal he will ever probably score in his life in terms of being completely unmarked about 6 yards out. But Brannigan with a couple of assists away, I thought he was good in the midfield alongside Volks once again. I did actually think Kioso and Leigh did actually help out quite a lot, getting forward, trying to get down the outside on the overlap, which was nice to see as well. And I actually thought Gregg Leigh had a really good game. I thought he was slightly at fault for the first goal, could have cleared that ball away, but generally I thought he had a good game today. Played a good hand in the first goal, pretty solid defensively, and obviously stepped up with the winning goal of the game. And he scored quite a few goals this season, so all the criticism of saying we can do better than Gregg Leigh at left back. Look, this guy's played every game week in, week out, with Joe Bennett being injured pretty much, and let's say he never really lets Oxford down. I think above all else, we're winning games in different ways now, aren't we? If we're not playing our good football and able to create chances from open play, we've got the ability to score goals from set pieces. We've got threats from set pieces. We've got that long throw in from Volks. We're not going to be worrying about scoring scrappy and untidy goals to win games, and we've got that ability to grit and grind out games as well. And the fact that we've won a game from being behind, we haven't done that for a long time since that Preston game very early on in the season. That's encouraging, that we can fall behind, be trailing in a game and come back to win. Still, none of the sides below us in the table have beaten us. There's more and more sides below us in the table now, and that is another vital win for Oxford United, who move up to 9 wins for the season. And you might even say they only need 4 or 5 more wins now to get to that magical 50-point mark. Wonderful days, Oxford United fans. Enjoy them. Enjoy the run we're on, because I'm sure at some point we're going to go on a bad run again when we play the heavy hitters at the top of the league. So let's enjoy it while we can. Let's enjoy picking up these points. Let's enjoy this championship season. Let's go into that Stoke game and wow, there's no reason why we can't come and get a result there. Thanks for watching. I'll be back to do a predictions video maybe tomorrow if I can get the energy to do it. And then I will do a review of that game against Stoke City at the weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Are you? I think we all are. I'll see you soon.